Hello my friends, my name is Lindsey, I run the blog Books for Christian Girls, and welcome to or welcome back to the little corner of the internet where I talk mainly about Christian fiction. In today's video, it's all Christian fiction though, because I'm going to be sharing with y'all my favorite Christian middle grade books. Now, keeping in mind that I mainly review for girls ages 9 to 19, this list is more geared towards girls ages 9 to 12, but I do think at least a few of these series would also interest boy readers as well. So if you are 9 to 12, you have a 9 to 12-year-old in your life, or you're young at heart and like middle grade books, welcome to this video. I hope you find a new favorite. As just a note, if this is your first time seeing me, hello, my name is Lindsey and I run the blog Books for Christian Girls. It's a site dedicated to giving full in-depth content reviews of Christian, mainly only fiction, books. And recently I updated our book recommendations tab, which is for ages 9 to 12. I'm working on our older ranges currently as we speak. It's a process, but 9 to 12-year-olds, our middle grade readers list is completed. And I really love how this page turned out on BFCG. So what I'm going to do is in this video just share with y'all my favorite ones off of there. Those are all ones I would recommend, but I'm going to share with y'all my personal favorites in this video. And if you need the full in-depth content reviews of these books, you'll just click the link in the description, scroll down, and it will be there. But also if you need more recommendations after this video, there are even more on that list as well. So I'm very excited to have that updated. I'm working on the other ages and they are coming eventually. But I thought since I've been doing a lot of book recommendation videos lately, I would do one of my all-time favorite middle grade books for Christian fiction. So, okay, let's get started. We're going to start with historical, and then we'll go into mystery, action-adventure, contemporary, and end with fantasy. I think that's the way we'll do it. Let's get started. To start off with historical fiction, I have to mention a very classic series, and that is the Mandie series by Lois, Gladys, Leppard. There is the younger Mandie mystery series, that's like a prequel series, but they don't match up well in my opinion, so like I kind of ignore those even exist. But this series has 40 books. You can either collect them in these tiny small editions that are kind of hard to find nowadays, just as a heads up, but there's also the volumes that have like 4 books in one thick one, and it's probably way more cost effective to go this route, but I collected both because I like buying books. But this follows Mandie, and she is 12 years old, and in this first book she is dealing with a lot of grief because her father just passed away. So if you have a sensitive reader, you might read this book together so discussions can happen and you can see if there's any other interest in the series. Personally, for me, my favorite ones are when she goes to Europe in the later half of the series with her grandmother and all their trips and travels that have to do with that. But there's a mystery in every single one of these books, and I enjoy the series. It's not for everyone, but it's a nostalgic one for me. And then another series that I am currently reading and reviewing is the Eleanor series by Eleanor Clark. I don't really think there's an official title, but like when you search for it, it comes up that way. And it is about the author's family history and this grandmother telling her granddaughters about a young girl in their family ancestry line. And it's just been really cute. It's reminded me a lot of the American Girl books or even the Sisters in Time books. But I like them way better than the Sisters in Times books. That book's not on this list. I have it on the BFCG suggestion list. It's not my personal favorite. But it reminds me of that because you have all these different historical time periods and the details. So I would say it's like that and the American Girl series, but it has more faith content, and I've really been enjoying them and how they've been written. And I've only read 3 of them so far, so this is kind of like a bonus mention, if you will. I plan to have the whole series reviewed by Christmas and of 2025, if you're watching this in the future. And so I'm working on that, but I wanted to give a shout out to this series because I'm enjoying it. It's on Kindle Unlimited, which is very exciting. And yes, kind of an honorable mention to this list, I guess. Now moving on into mystery. The Mandie series can technically count as mystery books, but these are ones that are contemporary setting with mysteries. So, little difference there. But the first series I have to mention is one I discovered this year. It was published this year. I've been enjoying them so much. And that is the Heroes on the Homefront mystery series by Nell Branum. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce the author's name. Branum. So in this series, we follow Riley, who is a 6th grader with a younger brother and older sister, a mom, a grandma, and her dad, who's in the military overseas. And Riley has a really big interest and fascination into World War II, mostly because her great-grandmother was a Rosie the Riveter. And so this first book talks a lot about that and has like a speaking contest and competition and that kind of thing. And a special trip, but things go missing at that museum, and so they're trying to figure out what's going on there. In the second book, Friends in Strange Places, we follow Riley, her brother, and their grandma as they were on a road trip to see about their grandma adopting this one dog. And on their way to this town, in the town, there is a reunion happening for POWs and the American soldiers. And Riley's very kind of confused about that concept, but there is more history. One thing I'm really enjoying about this series is that it is a contemporary series, but it talks about World War II, but it's not super heavy or sad. And I think that's a really rare thing in the middle grade industry, just Christian fiction or secular, because a lot of middle grade books that are about World War II are set during World War II, and they can get pretty heavy and depressing because that was the time period. And yes, we need to know our history so we don't repeat it. But it's also really hard some days to read about. And that's one thing I think I've really enjoyed this series, is that it talks about some of the sad things, but it never feels overly sad or like a heavy burden on especially a middle grade reader's heart. And it's been a really good series. I can't wait for book 3. I would say both boys and girls would enjoy this series. Another mystery series I have really enjoyed is the Camp Club Girls series, and it's by various authors. The first book is Camp Club Girls and the Mystery at Discovery Lake. But let me explain this series because I'm holding up like 3 very different books. So you can get them in these individual ones. There is 18 of them this way. They also did a volume collection for all the books. So like this one has 3 in 1 and it's the first 3 books. But then more recently, the publisher did where each girl, because this series follows 6 girls and Biscuit the Wonder Dog, and they each got their own book. So it has all 4 of her books. There was a book for each of the girls that never went to print in either of these versions. So the only way to read that bonus book would be to get the individual collections for each girl. I don't know if that made any sense. I'm so sorry. If that was as clear as mud, please let me know and I will comment it, and it will make much more sense because I will be able to, like, you know, stare at what I'm writing for a good 20 minutes. Like I said though, this series follows 6 girls and they live all over the US, and they end up going to a Christian summer camp together, and they end up solving a mystery and keeping in touch and becoming very good friends. So every book besides the first one has one girl as kind of the main girl, and then one of the other girls is visiting her or she's visiting her or like that kind of thing, and they have mysteries to solve. They have a little chat group and they are just so cute, so precious. Multiple different authors. If I had to pick my favorite girls, like their volumes to go with, I would say Elizabeth, Kate, and maybe Bailey would be my favorite ones out of the 6, but they are all really good, very just fun mysteries. And then my final mystery series is one I was really hoping to have read prior to making this video, but oh well, I think I would still really enjoy them. And that would be the Samantha Sanderson series by Robin Caroll. Book 1 is Samantha Sanderson at the movies. Book 2, Samantha Sanderson on the scene. Book 3, Samantha Sanderson off the record. And then book 4, Samantha Sanderson without a trace. With this series, I would recommend it maybe for the slightly older end of middle grade, like not quite ready for YA, but still wanting some good, wholesome, entertaining books. That would probably be this series. I say that though because this series does have a little bit more suspense and a little bit more serious mysteries, I guess you could say. Like I think the first one, there is a bomb threat. So, you know, they have to deal with a little bit more intense situations than, oh no, what happened to the school marm's missing pencil kind of thing, you know? I didn't mean to just like make fun of a Mandie book, but I'm pretty sure that was one of the plots. But you know, it's a little more intense. They are contemporary setting, so they have a little bit higher stakes, I guess you could say. And that is mainly because though of the different mysteries, but Samantha is also the daughter of a police officer, and her mom is an award-winning journalist, and she wants to be a journalist one day too. So it follows her and her best friend, and yeah, I greatly enjoyed the series. I was hoping to reread them this summer. That did not happen, but there's always the rest of the year, so we'll see if that happens. So this next category is action/adventure, and basically what I mean by that is they're not quite full-on mysteries, but they're not quite just like normal contemporary life stuff. There might be some mystery elements, and it is a contemporary setting, but it's not quite. There's a little bit more action and adventure, hence the title of this category, action adventure. So I have 2 trilogies, and one of them would be the Road Trip Rescue trilogy by Becca Wierwille. I'm not sure if that's how we pronounce the author's last name. I've been meaning to ask her, and I'm so sorry, that's probably not it. But book 1 is Road Trip Rescue, book 2 Road Trip Return, and book 3 Road Trip Redemption. This is a completed trilogy, and I highly recommend and suggest you read them in order, because even though they follow different main characters, they are very connecting, and they kind of build off of each other in a way, so I would definitely recommend reading them in order. I think because book 2 is a boy's POV, I think boy readers would enjoy this series just as much, but I think girls would as well. The first book is Road Trip Rescue, and it follows 12-year-old Kimmy, and 2 years prior her dog disappeared when her family was on a trip, and she has constantly just wondered what's happened to her dog, missing her dog, and then one day in the magazine she sees a picture of her dog, and so she tries to convince her parents and then her aunt to take her to where that picture was taken in upstate New York to try to track down her dog. And it has a kind of bittersweet ending, so I think sensitive animal lovers, like I'm a sensitive dog lover, I really am, and I definitely cried at a couple points of this book just because, like, you know, the unconditional love of a dog, it's just so sweet and precious, and we're so not worthy of it. But it's really, like, it's bittersweet, but it's good, but it kind of, I don't want to spoil the ending, I really don't. But if you are a mom who has a sensitive dog lover or just animal lover, I do have spoilers in my review that you can click and highlight to see if it would be okay for your reader. So just as a heads up, book 2 builds off of that first book, and it's Road Trip Return. We follow Matteo, and a lot of things is changing in his life, and he's not happy about it, so he's got to figure things out, and then an unexpected trip to Guatemala happens to find someone, and I don't really want to say too much more because that kind of spoilers book 1. In book 3, Road Trip Redemption, we follow Jada, and her and Kimmy were best friends a few years prior, but certain things happened and harsh words were exchanged, and Jada has just recently realized just how bad those words she said to Kimmy actually was. And when she comes across something she believes belongs to Kimmy, she convinces her sisters to go on a almost cross-country road trip with her to return the item to Kimmy. And there's a lot of redemption in this book. And I don't know, I thought the whole series was really good. I think they're very solid middle grade options. So definitely check them out if they interest you. Another action-adventure series, I guess you could say, would be the Good News Shoes trilogy or the Riley May trilogy by Jill Osborne. Book 1 is Riley May and the Rock Shocker Trek. Book 2, Riley May and the Ready Eddie Rapids. Such a tongue twister. And then book 3, Riley May and the Soulfire Safari. In this trilogy, we follow Riley May, and she is very athletic, very sporty, loves the outdoors, and she ends up becoming the spokesmodel for this shoe brand, and the shoe brand becomes very popular, and everyone wants a pair except Riley May, because she has realized by being the spokesmodel, she has to give up volleyball season and hanging out with her best friends, and so many other things, and there's a lot of really good lessons in this series. There's a lot of strong faith content, and it was also really neat because the shoe company that she becomes a model for will go off and do missions, and she gets to join them on some of their trips and travels. And I really greatly enjoyed this series. It's from the Faith Girls line by Zondervan, and so is the Samantha Sanderson series. I would say these two would probably be my favorite from their line, but I do have some honorable mentions for the contemporary category. And so switching into contemporary for a minute, I do have some honorable mentions that are also a part of the Faith Girls line. So when I say an honorable mention, I mean it in the sense of I really enjoyed them, and I think they're solid middle grade options, especially for Christian girls, but I don't think they're my personal favorites. I think I've had other ones that I've enjoyed more. So some of those would be like the Glimmer Girls series by Natalie Grant. There's kind of light mysteries throughout those 4 books. There's also the Lena in the Spotlight trilogy, and then a kind of spin-off trilogy, which would be the Daniels sisters. And those are written by Alena Pitts, and then the Pitts sisters did the other 3 books. And those were all really cute. They're just not personal favorites of mine, but if you have an avid reader and you just want some good, solid Christian middle grade books for her, you might check out those as well. For my personal favorites though, for the middle grade contemporary genre, I've got 3 series, I guess you could say, and I want to start us off with the Dawn Chandler series by Eliza Noel. Book 1 is Dawn Chandler, and then book 2 is Dawn and the Letters. This is just so lovely and so wholesome and just so much fun. In this first book, we follow Dawn, and not only does she get the news that her and her brother are now going to be homeschooled, they also get the news from their parents that they are moving to a whole new area that they have never been to before. And while Dawn is a little, like, you know, sad about that, she still keeps a very respectful attitude, and if that gets slipped up, her parents correct it. And it was just really nice to see a healthy, normal family in a middle grade book series, and like alive parents, because if you've read middle grade books, you know there's 50% chance the parents are either dead or they're terrible. So it's really nice to see books where there are parents and they are fantastic parents, like they are good with parenting corrections and guidance and discussions, and I just love seeing that. And so this series is really cute, kind of a hidden gem, I would say. And then also on the note of having good, healthy, normal families in fiction books, I would say the Tree Street Kids series by Amanda Cleary Eastep. I don't own book 3, so forgive me for having to pop up a picture on the screen, but book 1 is Jack versus the Tornado. Book 2, The Hunt for Fang. Book 3, Lions to the Rescue. Book 4, Mystery in Crooked Creek Woods. Such a tongue twister. Book 5, The Beastie of Brambly Bald. And then book 6 just released here in August, and that is Jack and the Red Giant. I don't know if this is the end of the series. I hope it's not, but at the same time, it would be a pretty good place to end it, and I'm just going to be sad about it because this series was so much fun. As a note, I do think boy readers would enjoy this series as well because we do follow Jack. Basically, he's the main character, but we see his friend group, which has a neighbor girl and his little sister, Midge. I love Midge. Midge is Jack's little sister, and she is just a delight. She's kind of a little bit of a know-it-all, but in a way that she doesn't mean to be that way. She just has all this information, and she's going to share it with you, and I love her dearly. And so I think both boys and girls would greatly enjoy this series. I have greatly enjoyed them, and I'm obviously older than middle grade readers. This series is actually set in 1995, so it's not historical because I'll get fussed at in the comments, but I wouldn't really call it contemporary. It felt contemporary, but like there's no cell phones. Like the kids have walkie-talkies, and instead of playing like games on their phones or whatever, they are out riding their bikes. There's a few mentions of video games throughout the series, but mainly the kids hang out and ride their bikes and come up with games and so many things. In book 2, The Hunt for Fang, the kids actually go to VBS, and I loved seeing that. As someone whose VBS was like the highlight of her summer, I loved seeing VBS in a Christian middle grade book, and this series has just been so much fun. They are shorter ones, they are enjoyable, there's a few illustrations throughout, and I've just greatly enjoyed the series. I hope it's not over. I hope it's not over, but if it is, it was a really good series. This series has just been so much fun. It feels kind of nostalgic because it reminds me of my childhood growing up, of just riding your bikes and playing with your friends outside on a summer day. And I love that feeling. We follow Jack and his family in the first book as they move from the country to the suburbs, and then he meets the friend group of the neighborhood. So you have Jack and his little sister Midge, Ruthie, Roger, and Ellison, and they are just a fun group. So much fun. So much fun. Another contemporary series I have really enjoyed would be the Undercover Princess series by Olivia Jarmusch. Book 1 is Undercover Princess. Book 2, Prank War. And book 3, Camping Adventure. Book 4 has also released as of filming this, but I haven't read it yet, so I'm just going to say these first 3 books. And we follow Millie, and she is actually a princess of a fictional European country, and she ends up getting to go to a boarding school that is kind of horse themed, and it is all about her adventures there. We do have to deal with some snotty-nosed mean girls in this series, but there's good lessons, like definitely good lessons throughout the series by the end, so I appreciate that a lot. And then to finish off this video, we have the fantasy category, and I have 2 trilogies, one with magic, one without magic. So we'll start with the one without magic. And that would be the Tales of Faith trilogy by Amanda Tero. Book 1 is Befriending the Beast. Book 2, The Secret Slipper. And Book 4, Protecting the Poor. This trilogy isn't really aimed for middle grade readers, but I think it works for middle grade readers because they are clean, non-magical fairy tale retellings that don't have romance in them, which is fascinating. I love it when an author can take a fairy tale retelling and not only make it non-magical, but also change it where instead of like a romantic love, it is a family love. And I think because of that, this series could be particularly great for family read-out-louds. Book 1, Befriending the Beast, is a Beauty and the Beast retelling and has to do with a father-daughter relationship. The Secret Slipper is a Cinderella retelling, and it also is about a family relationship like a father and daughter. And then Book 3 is Protecting the Poor, and it has Robin Hood influences and is more focused on two brothers. And I just love how the author took these stories and made them just so lovely and wholesome and good faith content and just great for a large age group. And then my final recommendation for this video would be the Inkwell Chronicles trilogy by J.D. Peabody. Book 1 is The Ink of Elspeth, maybe? Book 2 is The Race to Krakatoa. I think that's how we say it. It sounds very fun to say it, so I hope I'm saying it right. And then Book 3 is Operation Bungaree. In this trilogy, we follow a brother and sister as they are living their lives in post-World War II England in like the 1940s, 1950s. And so it's got that vintage charm already to it. But then you also have the magic system, if you will. And it's not magic as in bippity boppity boo. It's magic in the sense of there is this special ink that any great paintings or literature or music, anything that is very creative was created with this ink. And that's like, that's why it's so special and so important, and why those masterpieces have stood the test of time is because it was written with this special ink. And of course you've got the awful enemy villain people that are after the ink to destroy it because they don't like creativity. And there's very light Christian themes in this series, but the main two kiddos, their dad is a reverend, so we see a lot of like more good morals, I guess you could say, besides like actual Christianity content. It's a very solid though middle grade series, very adventurous and kind of whimsical in a way, and I would definitely suggest if you read this series to have Book 3 on hand because Book 2 ends in a very bad cliffhanger in my opinion. So just as a heads up. It does end in a very open ending kind of way where there could be more books maybe one day, but currently it is a trilogy and it ends very well. And so here is a stack of middle grade book options for y'all. They're quite heavy actually. That is it for this video though. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope some of these books caught your eye and that they become new favorites for you as well. As a reminder, I do have full content reviews of all of these books linked in the description, so please check that out if you want to know what exactly is inside. If you want any more information about the books, that is all available. And I will see y'all next time. Thank you so much for watching. I am Lindsey from the blog booksforchristiangirls.blogspot.com, where there's a new review every Wednesday and Friday. I try to post a new video on this channel every Friday as well. I am on Instagram under Books for Christian Girls, where I talk mainly about Christian fiction for girls ages 9 to 19. I also have my personal Bookstagram, which is Book Reviews by Lindsey, where I talk about clean fiction and Christian fiction and just what's happening in my own reading tastes. And then let's see, I'm also on TikTok, Goodreads, and Facebook, and I think that's it. And I will see y'all here, there, and everywhere. I hope you have an absolutely lovely rest of your day, y'all. Bye!